Good evening, everyone. We all please rise for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The clerk, please call the roll.
Counsel Milanazzo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
Counsel Martin.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
That's 9 present.
I'm present. This is a meeting of the Lowell City Council on June 10th. We apologize for the delay. Today is also Portuguese Heritage Day, and there was a celebration with the Portuguese community, and we issued a proclamation, and it continues as this meeting is beginning outside, and we want to wish all of our Portuguese American members of the community happy Portuguese Heritage Day. And before we proceed any further, I'd like to recognize Council Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Mateus V. Martins, 54, too young, who was a businessman in the city of Lowell for 32 years. He began working at Frank's Fish Market on Central Street in 1974, eventually taking ownership in 1982. The store became known as Martin's Fish and Produce, where Mateus worked the rest of his days. And I might add, he worked very, very hard. He became a fixture in the back central neighborhood and a friend to many. I was one of his many customers. He was a remarkable man. While short in number, there was no shortage of life to his years. Mateus was a member of the St. Anthony's Church Parish. How ironic that we're having a Portuguese flag-raising celebration, and this gentleman, 54 years old, passed away. He was also a member of the Holy Ghost Society and the Holy Trinity Society, of which he was one of the founding members. He is survived by the love of his life, Zilda Martins, and the couple would have celebrated their 29th wedding anniversary in December. Besides his wife, he will be sadly missed by his children, his son, Mateus Martins Jr., and his fiancée, Marilyn Tellez, and a daughter, Stephanie Martins. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, customers, and his many, many friends. May he rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. If there's no objection, I'd like to offer a moment in silence in darkened chamber as well for John Brewster Hamlet, Sr. Dr. John Brewster Hamlet died peacefully at Lowell General Hospital on June 1st after a brief illness. He was the beloved husband of Hope Gurney Hamlet for 66 years, loving father of Joan Hamlet and John Hamlet Jr. of Lowell, Elizabeth H. Gardner of Southlake, Texas, and he was a devoted grandfather of David and James Kariotsky, Michael, Caitlin, Kristen Gardner, Cullen, and Connor Burke, and uncle to Margaret H. Sarner. John was born in Lowell on February 27, 1914, the son of Dr. Clement and Maud Hamlet. John was a graduate of Lowell High School, Harvard University, and McGill Medical School. While serving as a medical officer in the United States Army, he was recruited by the Office of Strategic Services. During World War II, he served in France, Africa, and China. He retired from the Army Reserves as a lieutenant colonel. Following active duty, he served as the chief pathologist at Bethesda Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio for 27 years. After his retirement, he volunteered at Hospice of Cincinnati and pursued his hobbies of gardening, beekeeping, genealogy, and running. In 2008, he and Hope moved back to New England, spending their time at their home in Hancock, New Hampshire. and John's family homestead in Lowell, Massachusetts. John was a member of the St. Anne's Episcopal Church in his youth, and most recently a member of the Pawtucket Congregational Church in Lowell. John just turned 100 years old. He will be sorely missed by all. Could we please rise for a moment of silence and darken chambers? May they rest in peace. Before we begin under the mayor's business, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and welcome our new auditor. In New York, welcome. This is her first city council meeting, her second day in the city of Lowell. From Texas, welcome Hannah. We're looking forward to working with you, and nice to finally meet you in person. So, welcome. Did you want to say a few words?
I'm just really excited to be here, and everybody has been absolutely incredible. I'm very excited. My staff is wonderful. Karen has been outstanding. I'm glad you all gave her a standing ovation at the last meeting. They've all been wonderful, so I'm just really excited.
Thank you very much. And before I'm sorry. What do you have? We will be recognizing this organization at the next meeting, but they asked us to just mention that Cobblestone's Restaurant is celebrating their 20th anniversary. They're coming in at the next meeting, but we want to recognize that they'll be hosting an anniversary party on Sunday the 22nd, and that will be after our next meeting. So the celebration is on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of Lowell. The public is welcome. There will be a blues brunch from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and a barbecue with live music from 3 to 8 p.m. So 20 years for Cobblestones. We just wanted to congratulate them. Moving on to the first item of the evening on the mayor's business is a citation recognizing Major Everett L. Henry III and Major Patricia Henry of the Salvation Army. Could you kindly come to the podium? On behalf of the city of Lowell, it's a sad day for us, Major. You're moving on to other locations, but we wanted to take this opportunity to recognize you with a citation along with a key to the city for all of your contributions, your hard work, your dedication to helping the citizens of the city and Greater Lowell through all your charitable efforts. And on behalf of the city, I'd like to present you with the citation. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby offers its sincere gratitude and congratulations to Major Everett L. Henry III and Major Patricia Henry. In July of 2007, you came to Lowell from the Maine as Division Youth Secretaries. At that time, you were both captains and have since been promoted to majors. While in Lowell, you have been feeding the needy both spiritually and physically while fulfilling the mission to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in His name without discrimination. You have spent the past 7 years of dedicated service to the Lowell community, serving those in need and truly personifying the motto of the Salvation Army, heart to God, hand to man. You oversaw the working of the core food pantry, senior center, character building programs for children, and assistance for Christmas, as well as shepherding your congregation and leading worship services weekly. You are currently the commanding officers here at the Lowell Citadel Corps. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Rodney M. Elliott, on behalf of all my colleagues in government, Major, hereby offer you all the best. It is the City of Lowell's sincere hope that you continue to work tirelessly for the good of others, and we thank you for all that you have performed for the good of our city. We wish you only the best, and we wish you well as you take the lead as commanding officers of the Asbury Park, New Jersey Citadel Court. On behalf of the city of Lowell, its 106,000 residents, we thank you, we wish you well, and we congratulate you.
I must say I'm grateful. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager. It is an indeed pleasure for my wife and I to work tirelessly, as you said, here in Lowell for these 7 years. Didn't know what I was getting into 7 years ago, but I'm grateful for every opportunity I've had. I've learned so much being here. Working with the advisory board, listening to these council meetings, figuring out what's going on in the city. The way that everyone just reaches out is just amazing, and that's what I was told when I came here. I remember the days of my training and being told what it would be like to be a Salvation Army officer, and people would recognize you, and you were the uniform, and all the support a community would give you. I can tell you that I have not experienced any greater support than I've had here for these 7 years in my 21 years of experience. It has been phenomenal. I know in the future, when I look back at teaching and mentoring people coming behind me, there are many examples of what it means to be here in Lowell as the Salvation Army representative that will be vital to me, to communicate what it means to be here. So on behalf of my wife, who is at another event, that's why we accomplish so much. There's two of us, and we divide and conquer. I say thank you. We brought 3 kids here. They all graduated from high school here, and we leave here with an empty nest. So it's with mixed emotions that we move on. And our oldest, or our next to oldest son, leaves this Saturday for Zambia for the summer. He'll be doing mission work there. And a lot of that has to do with what he experienced here in Lowell. So thank you very much. And just in closing, I see that on the way out of town, you give me this key to the city. Who knows what I could have done with this at the very beginning. But thank you very much. Pray God's blessing on all of you. May he bless this city even more abundantly than he already has. His grace and his mercy is seen all throughout this community. It's seen in these chambers. And so on behalf of those that we serve, thank you for doing what you do, partnering with us and making this all happen and be such a success. So thank you. Good luck tonight on your budget. I know what that's like. And may, again, God bless you in all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Major. I also, let me recognize one of your big supporters and contributors as well, and welcome you back to the chamber, former mayor, city councilor, Council Caulfield. We know how hard you work for the Salvation Army, and we thank you for all you do. Welcome, and Major, he was right on this to get you that citation, and the key to the city is given to you on the way out by design, because we know we're concerned what might happen if we give the key beforehand. But no, thank you for all that you do, Council Caulfield, Mr. Baumer, member of the Board of Health of Drake-It, Chairman of the board. We appreciate everything you do. So, best of luck, Council Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say to Major Henry that the key is not going to open any safe in the City Hall, but it is the key to our heart to you. That's what it is. Thank you.
Without any further ado, we'll move on to the city clerk portion of the business. Thank you to members of the advisory committee as well. Minutes of the city council meeting, May 27th. Minutes from the Arts and Culture Subcommittee on May 27th. Minutes from the special meeting on June 3rd, as well as minutes from the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee on June 3rd as well. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item under unfinished business is an order of taking and acceptance of Melrose Ave and Shirley Ave. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Council Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading by title. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell and City Council. Order of taking and acceptance of Shirley Avenue and Melrose Avenue to take by eminent domain and fee certain parcels of land in the City of Lowell for municipal purposes, to wit, the layout and acceptance of Shirley Avenue and Melrose Avenue and other municipal purposes associated therewith. Motion to approve by Council Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. We have general public hearings. There's one at 7 o'clock, being after 7 o'clock. First one is an ordinance to amend Chapter 222, Peace and Good Order, by adding Section 222-14, entitled Public Urination and Defecation. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. The second reading is by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell. In City Council is an ordinance. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 222, entitled Peace and Good Order, by adding 222-14, entitled Public Urination and Defecation. Proceed by opening the public hearing by those wishing to speak in favor. Those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in favor. Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. Now open up this portion of the hearing for those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition? Anyone in opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the body? Discussion? Council? Move approval by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Milanazzo. Discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Ordinance passes. Moving on to item number 4.2. A vote to approve the budget FY15. Second reading, motion to waive the full reading. No, why don't we just read? Yeah, the amount's not in it yet, so second reading by title. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Mercer, second by Council Milanazzo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? So carried. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Council is a vote approving budget for the City of Lowell for fiscal year 2015. What is the wish of the body? Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council
I
Martin.
realize that a lot of the departments are here, and I think that probably the city manager would like for the budget to be approved this evening with very little discussion. And I think that the budget document that he's presented the city council with is a good one, and I would like to commend him and his staff on the work that they did in putting the budget together. I do think, though, in light of the fact that, and I've made this argument before in previous years with the previous city manager, I do think that given that we're looking at a 3.5% increase, that it's important that this city council take a detailed look at the budget. And so, and I think that the budget and the budget process is probably one of the most important things that this city council does. And so I think it serves two functions. I think, first of all, that the public that may be listening at home would expect that this city council would take a close and detailed look at the budget before just approving it out of hand without any discussion. And I also think that that even if no cuts are made, that exercise ends up being a worthwhile exercise, because I think it provides some confidence as far as the budget document goes. But beyond that, I think that it also serves as a educational tool for every member of the city council, so that they can see exactly where all of the money comes from. And we do have 3 members on the city council who have never been through the budget process. I think that for that reason, it's what I would like to do is maybe do a portion of the budget tonight if time permits, but set up another meeting maybe next Tuesday and take up the lion's share of the budget at that time. I'm only one vote here, but I really think that it's important that the city council goes through that exercise on an annual basis.
Thank you, Councilor. We'll have to open up the public hearing. Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was my feeling completely. I did talk to some councilors that are satisfied with perusing through the budget, not seeing anything to cut. And I understand that, because I looked from what I could see. I'm not trying to pass it off to next week to say that I have immense number of figures to cut here, because I think this quote says it all, and I'm going to say it again. It says, keeping an artificial lid on taxes may have pleased the ratings agency, but it only postponed the inevitable. I think the inevitable is here with this budget. I think that you can't demand services and not expect to pay for it. You can't demand quality education and not pay for it. I realize that, it's true. And so I could support the budget as it is, but I just need a little bit more time, because perhaps I didn't give it 100%. And so that's why I agree with Councilor Kennedy. I'd just like to look at it just a little bit longer. Not to say that I even have another dollar to cut. I probably don't, but I just want a little bit more time. And I think next Tuesday we should set a meeting to come back, and not to belabor the department heads, I really don't, but I think it's a very thorough budget. I think that I'd be hard pressed to find some cuts, but I just want to be fair to myself to say that I looked at it a little bit better than I did over this past week when we got it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. Mayor Elliott, through Mayor Elliott to City Manager Murphy. You gave on page 315 an explanation to the taxpayers of your budget, and you came into the middle of this process. Could you briefly basically address how you went about dealing with this budget? Especially, I mean, did you accept what the department heads had already given to the previous city manager, or did you use a process to get to this particular point? Just so the taxpayers can understand what has actually transpired, and it would help all of us too. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The first order of business when I became city manager was to address the budget. And when we looked at the budget, we understood that the preliminary budget that was presented in March didn't address the three pillars of that budget. that being education, public safety, and economic development. It was clear to us that the preliminary budget did not fully fund the net school spending for the Lowell School Department for fiscal year 15. And it did not include funding for the 5 additional police officers. So what we did is we sat down with each and every department head, and we explained to them that in order to address those 3 key factors in the budget, and hold the line on taxes, we were going to have to tighten our belts. And I instructed to them, each and every department head, to give me a budget that will allow you to provide the services that the residents expect without any additional staff and without any major increases to expenses. And we met with each and every department head, and we went over their budgets line item by line item. And although we would have liked to have given additional positions that were requested, although we would have liked to increase other line items that were requested, we just couldn't do it. So this budget has no additional positions in it, very minimal increases when I say minimal, we had to fund contractual and ordinance mandated raises, but it doesn't include any great expenses for the department. So it's a very lean budget. As I expressed last week, it addresses the net school spending issue. It addresses the public safety issue, and those 2 issues combined, I believe, will promote economic development in the city of Lowell.
Councilor Samaras?
So basically what you're saying, there's been basically no increase in the overall budget, but you took the budget that already had I believe a 3.5% raise, now included the new police officers, and then included added to the net school spending, and you stayed within the 3.5%.
Correct. We also had to fund the state elections in September and November. Those weren't in the preliminary budget also. So we have to have the elections in September and November, so we had to include that money in the budget also. So it was a challenge to do that, but we did it. We kept the tax levy as low as we could, and we've presented a budget that is going to maintain services to the residents of Lowell, and it's going to address the 3 key factors in our budget.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion?
So, well,
Councilor Kennedy?
maybe we should do the public hearing first, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, it's up to you, but at some point, I'd like to just propose that as a motion.
Okay. Okay. Why don't we proceed with the public hearing, Councilor, and then we'll entertain that motion. So we'll proceed with opening this portion of the hearing for those wishing to speak in favor of the budget. Those wishing to speak in favor? Those wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none. Council Martin?
Well, I don't think we should close the hearing, right? I mean, people might want to speak on individual line items. We kind of have special rules on the public hearing for the
Okay.
budget. So I think it's fine to open the public hearing, but if we're going to have a meeting some other time, people should be able to speak then as well. So I don't think we should close the public hearing.
Okay, so we'll open the meeting and then entertain a motion to recess to a later time. Is that the wish of the body? Okay. To next Tuesday? Is that the desire? Council Kennedy?
Next Tuesday works for me. I don't know how it works for my colleagues, but it would be a good time for me. Maybe we could start a little bit earlier. And maybe we could do it in one evening if we did that.
Okay. Is there a time that works, 5 o'clock too early, 5:30, 6? What's Councilor Marcia?
Would you think that our employees that are in the city leave like 5, get out of work like 5, so instead of going home, maybe they could just come here and not have to leave? Do they want to get something to eat?
What is the wish of what members? Does 5 o'clock work for members? Council? 5 o'clock does not work for Councilor. What works? 5:30. 5:30.
You know, I have commitments during the day that could run, you know, I could be here for the regular time, but 6 maybe.
6 o'clock? 6 o'clock in a work, counselor, or, I mean?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. Entertain a motion by Counsel Kennedy, second by Counsel Mercier, to recess the public hearing until next Tuesday, the 17th. Is that correct, Mr. Clerk?
Right.
17th at 6 p.m.
That's fine.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 9 yeas. Hearing is recessed till next Tuesday. Thank you, department heads, for attending. We'll see you next Tuesday. You're off the hot seat for tonight. Okay, so moving on to next section, item number 5, communications from the city manager. We have a communication summary. We also have motion responses A through D. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Samaras, second by Council Milonazo. Council Leahy?
Sure. I had a couple of questions through you to the manager. I just had some on this and some on the emails that we got after the meeting notes came out. You had sent us an update on the maybe the fireworks ordinance. So I thought that was important. A lot of people have sent us emails about that. So could you just give us a little update on what to expect from that?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, through you.
Mr. Mayor, would you like a motion to suspend the rules to talk about this? Because we actually have it on our desks.
Yeah, this was coming in,
Needs a public
Council
hearing.
Leahy.
Right.
So, motion to suspend the rules by Council Milonazo, second by Council Mercier. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. No objection. First, it requires just one reading. We're going to send it for.
Mr. Mayor, refer to
Okay, so Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, in City Councils and ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Chapter 155 entitled Fire Prevention by adding Section 155-17 entitled Sale, Possession, and Use of Fireworks Prohibited. I'll just read, first reading, I will read the entire ordinances. In City Council, by virtue of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 43, Section 95, has the right to general management and control of the City of Lowell, and whereas the City Council has an interest in promoting the health and safety and welfare of the residents of City of Lowell, prohibiting the sale, possession, and use of fireworks will promote the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and neighborhoods of the City of Lowell. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows. The Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, hereinafter called the Code, adopted by the City Council on December 23, 2008, as amended, is hereby further amended with respect to Chapter 155 entitled Fire Prevention by adding the following new section. Sale, possession, and use of fireworks prohibited. Definition: for the purpose of this section, fireworks shall include compositions, substances, and other articles, and shall also include blank cartridges or toy cannons in which explosives or used firecrackers, cherry bombs, silver, salutes, M80s, torpedoes, skyrockets, Roman candles, sparklers, rockets, wheels, colored fires, fountains, mines, serpents, or other fireworks of light construction or item otherwise defined in Mass General Laws, 148, Section 39. No person shall sell, possess, or use fireworks within the city except that persons having a permit issued under the authority of Mass General Laws 148, Section 10A, may purchase fireworks and display them in accordance with the provision of Chapter 148 of the General Laws and in compliance with the rules and regulations of the Department of Public Safety. C, Any person who violates the provisions of this section shall be punished by a fine of $300 for each violation. If any section, subsection, sentence, clause, phrase, word, or other portion of this ordinance is, for any reason, held to be unconstitutional or invalid, in whole or in part by any ordinance, is, for any reason, in part, any court of competent jurisdiction shall be deemed severable, and such unconstitutionality or invalidity shall affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance, which remaining portions shall continue to be in full force effect. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 43 of the Mass General Laws. Approved as to form, Joe Murray, Assistant City Solicitor. Motion to send to a public hearing. What day?
June 24th. at
June
7 p.m.
24th by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Council Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't realize this ordinance was going to be sitting here on our desk. Before the meeting started, I handed City Clerk Michael Geary a motion for the 24th, which asks to have the Law Department, namely Christine O'Connor, supply us with an ordinance of what we see right here, and to increase the fine. So I can't believe that it's on our desk, and we haven't even talked about it yet, but it's becoming a problem in the city at this particular time. So I know that the fine is $300, and my motion was to increase it to $5. So I don't know if we could actually, I might have to withdraw my motion, but there were people that were going to speak on it.
Right.
And I was also, with that motion, going to ask that the city manager ask the proper department, being the superintendent of police, if they could put together a special unit formed to crack down on this nuisance at just this particular time of the year, not all the time, but because there's no sense to have an ordinance if there's no cooperation complementing this motion through the proper people that enforce it. And I'm talking about specific areas, and I can't say that it's going to be an ordinance for the whole city, but when you live in a dense population, portions of Centerville or portions of back Central Street, and people next door are shooting off fireworks, and I'm talking about something similar to what the city of Lowell would shoot off, and it's very dry, and they're afraid of fires, and it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then people have to get up and go to work. So I'm kind of like talking about this motion right now, but it's so prevalent that this ordinance came in here because there's such a magnitude of nuisance for the residents. People are elderly, they're frightened, their animals are frightened. I mean, I know it's the birthday of the country, and I know the police have a lot of other more important things to do, but this is becoming troublesome when you're older and you're afraid your house is going to burn down, because it could happen. And so I don't know whether to withdraw my motion or leave it on the agenda for the 24th so it would coincide with this ordinance, because that's how important. Councilor Leahy knows that he got a lot of calls on this, a lot of emails. So did I. So much so that's why I presented the clerk with the motion for the 24th. So thank you for Councilor Leahy for getting this on board. Thank you.
No, I agree. And in fact, I filed the motion last year, Councilor, right after the 4th of July, because we all started receiving an abundant amount of emails, particularly from the Centerville section of the city, where people were literally shooting them from one house to the next. And I want to say the fine was, I believe it's very marginal. Is 300 not an increase? Because I want to say it was 100 or even less. So state statute is 100, right? So
It increased to 300.
So it did increase it, because I remember at that time saying $100, people will be shooting them off and they'll pay the fine. So I think that's a good idea. And if the statute is 100, we're increasing it. Is there a maximum, Mr. Manager, on this? No. Okay.
No, 300.
But I think it's a great idea and very timely that it's coming through, and we got to get this message out because they're so prevalent. They're, you can buy them so many places in New Hampshire that we need to do something. Council Kennedy and then Council Samaras.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to suggest, I think that since the ordinance is going to be before us on the 24th, that if we're interested in having a ceiling of 500, we maybe should take up advertise it that way, right? Is that my understanding? Is that how it goes? Is that we would be able to lower that maximum amount but not increase it after the public hearing?
Yes, I'm not aware that we'll have the authority to do that, but we nevertheless can take a look at it. And what the manager wanted to do was, because we're heading into the summer months, and because we'd have a delay of a summer schedule, and then sending it out to a public hearing, is getting it before the council and getting that public hearing scheduled. So certainly we've already reached out to the clerk's office. We can have it advertised for $500 with the notion that we may have to scale it back, but at least people would be put on notice that the maximum could be as high as $500. If it's possible, it will be amended to include that.
Thank you.
I'll say Council Kennedy, Council Samaras, and then Council Mercia.
Thank you. I think this is a good motion, but I'm not as concerned with the fine. In other words, to me, $300 is enough at this particular point, but it's enforcement, as Councilor Mercia stated. And is it possible if we could get some idea as to what type of enforcement? Would it be a special group, or how would they respond to the calls? I think that's what the general public has a concern. It's just that lack of response in the past. And I think that's the most important thing we should look at this particular point.
Mr. Manager?
I too have gotten a number of emails, phone calls, and personally at 3:15 a.m. this morning, I heard the fireworks going off in the Highlands section of Lowell. We were trying to be preemptive. We were trying to be proactive on this measure. That's why we brought the ordinance forward tonight, so that it would be on for the 24th before the 4th of July holiday. Also, I sent you out another email from the superintendent of police that you can look at, that shows that he's also already looked into the issue. I asked him to look, and he's going to use grant money to have a special force that's going to monitor the fireworks and enforce the ordinance. He's also going to use the crime statistics to target the areas where these fireworks are going off, and target those areas with the police force. I will have him hear that on the 24th also, so that he can address any issues relative to enforcement. But we wanted to be very proactive with it, so I have to thank the law department for getting this actually today. I asked them this morning to draft this ordinance. I asked the superintendent of police to come up with a plan, and you'll see the plan he has on your email, and I'll make sure that he's here for the 24th to answer any of those questions. But we wanted to get it on before the 4th of July festivities.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to thank Mr. Manager for this quick response. I did not expect this here today, to echo Councilor Mercia's comments. This is tremendous, because frankly, this problem is far beyond nuisance levels, and we're all getting calls. I myself, I got a phone call 9:45 on a Sunday morning from an irate resident of the city of Lowell. So that speaks for itself right there. So this is a good start anyway. I think we can accomplish something from this. I don't think it's a total cure-all, so to speak. It's still very difficult for our men and women. Police officers are on the street. It's difficult to catch them in the act. And I believe the fine is only upon conviction, if I'm not mistaken. So this is a good start. I mean, we're being proactive. This is good, but it's still, our men and women in law enforcement have no doubt their hands full with this issue. The city of Lowell is not the place. We have too many congested neighborhoods. That simply is not the place for fireworks, and we need to ramp up our presence, so to speak. So I do appreciate it, Mr. Manager. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Council, did you want to amend that motion to make it 500, or are we leaving it at 3?
Well, yes, that'd be fine. And as Christine, City Solicitor, said, it could be as high as 500. So that would be good if you...
Okay. So, motion to amend Section C to change the original ordinance from, or the original submission of the ordinance from 300 to $500. Seconded by Counsel Milonazo. All those in favor, roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. So we will take one more vote to send the ordinance as amended to a public hearing on the 24th. Motion by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Samaras. Roll call, please.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Motion to amend, to adopt as amended carries. Any further discussion on communications?
Yep.
Counsel Leahy?
Yeah, thank you. I just had two other quick items. I was going to file a couple of motions for next week, but I was wondering in the meantime if we could get some information. They replaced the flashboards up on the dam, Pawtucket Dam, and I'm going to put in a motion to just find out why we can't enforce them. They put the pegs are supposed to be like 16 inches apart, yet they keep putting them closer and closer. So I'm going to put that motion on. And then we're getting a lot of emails about excise bills that supposedly weren't received, and now they're getting second notice and they have the demand. So I'll put on a motion for that too, but we need to get an answer. If it seemed like one or two people were missing them, now it seems like quite a few people didn't get their excise bills, so.
Counsel, there was a motion 3 weeks ago that I filed myself
Oh, yeah, that's
on
right.
on excise and demand fees. Mr. Manager, do you have anything else to add?
No, we've done a complete investigation into it. I'm going to give a comprehensive report. I think the major thing to understand on the demand notice is that it's not waivable by the treasurer, is that if it isn't paid, it's automatically have to pay the demand. What I've asked the state delegation to do is to file legislation to make an appeal process relative to the demand, because the treasurer realizes that people have paid their taxes religiously, and then for some reason or other they didn't get the bill, but there's no avenue of appeal relative to the demand notice. So I think it's going to cure a lot of the headaches when we have that appeal process, and the treasurer has the ability to waive the demand notice, and that will be part of the report.
But we'll also find out, as the mayor's motion, did people actually get their first
Yes.
bill, right? So we're going to find
Yes.
that out. Okay, thank you.
We tracked every person that complained, brought to our attention, they received a demand notice. As we tracked each and every one of their, the mail, and we'll have a report for you. That's why it's so comprehensive. We had to track each and every one of them.
All set, Counsel Leahy? Further discussion on motions? Entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Counsel Rourke, seconded by Counsel Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a communication to appoint Joseph Mullen to the Election Commission. Dear Mayor Elliott and members of the City Council, pursuant to Chapter 154 of the Acts of 1920, Chapter 115 of the Acts of 1921, Chapter 131 of the Acts of 1923, and Chapter 30 of the Acts of 1992, I am appointing Joseph W. Mullen of 19 Bunker Hill Ave, Lowell, Mass., to the Election Commission to fill the unexpired term of Gerard Nutter. Mr. Mullen's term will expire on June 30th, 2017, or on such time thereafter until his successor is appointed and qualified confirmation by the City Council is required for this appointment and hereby requested. I have attached a copy of his resume for your review. I would be happy to answer any inquiries that you may have concerning this appointment. Very truly yours, Kevin J. Murphy, City Manager.
Move approval.
For approval by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Martin. Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Muller has been an active supporter of various organizations and causes in the city of Lowell. It was a delight interviewing him. I've known him, so I didn't have to do much of an interview, but he's worked in the election office, or at least in the polls on election day, so he's familiar with the procedures, and he's a terrific human being. If you could just make brief comments to the city council, Joe.
Well, I would just like to take the opportunity to thank Mayor Elliott, the councilors, Manager. I think it's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve on a commission for the city of Lowell. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate you stepping up and serving the city of Lowell, so congratulations. Next item on the agenda is 5.3, communication from the city manager. Request out-of-state travel for 1, Health Department, and 2, Lowell Police Department. Entertain a motion to approve by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Kennedy. Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a vote authorizing the manager to execute a MOU with Local 1705 from 7/1/12 to 6/30/15. Motion to waive the full reading by Counsel Martin, seconded by Counsel Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council a vote authorizing the City Council to ratify and approve the execution by the City Manager of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Lowell and Local 1705, AFSCME, Council 93, AFL-CIO, covering the period of July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015. Council Milonazo?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager. I was pleased to see that we have both direct deposit and biweekly payroll and paperless payment in this contract. So I just want to thank 1705 for agreeing to that and congratulate the administration for having that included in this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager. Does this complete all negotiations with city unions?
Mr. Manager?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it does.
Discussion? Council Marcia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I'm very pleased because it seemed like they were the last, and it's like they were forgotten almost. The people that have paid the least, seems like we weren't even going to settle this, so I'm glad to see that you stepped up to the plate and made this happen, and it's here. So I'm very happy to see that. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Samaras. Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
No.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Yeas, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item 6.2, to vote to apply, accept, and expend a grant of the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Belanger, second by Councilor Kennedy. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply for, to accept, and expend on Our Common Backyards grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Division of Conservation Services, for the construction of Mulligan Park in the City of Lowell. Move approval by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Martin. Roll call.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Motion carries. Item 6.3 is a vote to authorize manager to execute a lease for the Jeanne d'Arc ATMs at City Hall, School, Senior Center. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell. In City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreements with Jean Duc Credit Union for the operation, maintenance, and service of financial transaction terminals located at Lowell High School, Lowell Senior Center, and the first floor lobby of Lowell City Hall for a 3-year period with an option to renew for an additional 3 years on the same terms and exercised solely by the city. What is the wish of the body? Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, who had this contract previously to this vote tonight?
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Jean Duc did.
And how does the process work? Is it always the same bank that gets it, or how does it go out to bid, or exactly how does this work?
Did it went out on RFP, correct? Yeah, our banking services go out on an RFP. We solicit the request for proposals, and whoever has the best response gets the job.
What is the response that was so great that it became theirs? I'm not saying that I suspect any foul play or whatever, but I just hope that the other banks had a fair shot at this. I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
Can I ask,
Madam Solicitor?
can you tell us the process that was followed on this?
Sure, I can tell you that historically, the process that had been used, and I believe this went out through the purchasing office, but in the past, I had been involved when we first started procuring these types of services, and the things that were considered were rates to the customers, rates to the city, and so it was, in the end, a measured proposal that became the most advantageous to the city and the people that would be using it. We can certainly put together a report as to what the deciding factors were in this particular case, but in the past, that's how it had always been.
I'm not saying anything because I'm suspicious. I'm just saying it because I want to know how this process took place.
Sure. Originally, there was a process that took place, and I think it started actually in the school department, where they literally, there was sort of it was about 3 business managers ago, and they did it as a lottery. And there were concerns raised by that, and rightly so. So we had contacted the Inspector General's office at the time, and even though with banking services there may not be actual funds exchanged, what the law department had advised at the time, and the Inspector General's office had concurred, is that there nevertheless is a value to these services that are provided by banks, and therefore it was incumbent upon the municipality to come up with a measured way of evaluating these types of proposals, and that's what I believe has occurred ever since.
And I understand that. That's a good thing to know. I want this transparency to take place, so I want to know how many banks partook in the RFP, who were they, what rate, since the means of the best rate is advantageous, I want to know what their rates were. I just want to know that everything's above board, and I'm sure that it is, but I have to be accountable, and so that's why I'm asking that.
Okay, thank you, Council. Mr. Manager?
It's not imperative that it pass this evening, so what I'll do is, why don't we just hold this? I'll get the report from Michael Vaughn, the purchasing agent, and report back to the council the specifics of the proposal that went out.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I appreciate that. It is not that any bank ever called me and complained. Nobody did. It's my own concern that I have. That's all I'm asking. And if I can understand it a little bit better, that'd be fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Samaras?
Maybe I can add to this. Jean Duc came to the high school, I believe, 10 years before my retirement. We had sent out an RFP to all the banks, and Jean Duc was the one that came in, was most interested in coming into the schools. A lot of the banks want to do some services with the schools, but not necessarily set up an office. But with that office, not only were rates considered, but education classes for our students and other things that would give an added value to students at Lowell High School. So the thing is, it was the process I was involved in, Councilor Mercia. Every bank was sent a notice, and John Dock was the bank that came up with the biggest package for the students at Lowell High School.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia?
Yes, thank you very much, Councilor Samaras. Mr. Mayor, I'm only, I'm very grateful. This is a very good service that the bank is providing to the senior center, to the ATM in the Lowell High School, in the lobby here. It's beautiful. That's fine. I just want to know what the process was, who applied, for my own satisfaction. I think it's just wonderful. There's no conspiracy here. I just want to be above board to know these questions. That's all it's all about. Thank you.
Okay, so, motion to withdraw? The motion? By Council.
Delay.
Motion to delay?
Delay, sure.
Motion to delay by Council Mercia, second by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll delay this to the next meeting in 2 weeks. Next item on the agenda, orders from the city manager. It's an order for a 60-day trial, various locations. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Belanger, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. That motion carries. Second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell in City Council is an order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts concerning Section 266 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Okay, what is the wish of the body? Move to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. Roll call.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item, item 8, under reports, subcommittee. Report from the Parks and Subcommittee, June 3rd, 2014. Chairwoman Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Tuesday, June 3rd, the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee met at 6 p.m. to discuss the dual motion by Mayor Elliott and Councilor Bill Martin to discuss the plans to develop the Concord Greenway. Those in attendance were Councilor Leahy, Councilor Rourke, who are members of the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee, along with Councilor Bill Samaras and Councilor Bill Martin, who is also a member of the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust and maker of the motion, along with the mayor. Also present was Jane Calvin, the Executive Director of Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust, the protector and preserver of Lowell's natural assets, actually Lowell's real Mother Nature. Diane Trad, Acting Director of the Department of Planning and Development, Acting Assistant City Manager, and Patty Luckin, as Assets Manager in the Planning Department, and Dave Biatti, Engineer representing the Greater Lowell Engineer Associates. The purpose of this subcommittee meeting was to receive an update and bring us up to speed as to developing progress of the Concord River Greenway. The Concord River Greenway follows the Concord River through Lowell from Jolene Dubner Park on Rogers Street to Centennial Island on Lawrence Street, approximately 725 feet long and an 8-foot wide walkway. This walkway provides a vital connection to the statewide Bay Circuit Trail and will eventually connect with the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail at the Chelmsford border. The project is moving forward, but does have its drawbacks, such as encountering illegal dumping, encroachment issues, working with property owners, land taken issues, DPW cleanup issues, and easement issues. The project has just gone out to bid. Numerous partners, agencies, funders, abutters, and the Lowell Parks and Conservation Trust members have contributed to the success of this project, which will fill the significant gap in the trail, as well as connect more natural beauty for everyone to partake, such as the 10 species of flowers that bloom in mid to late summer along the Concord River banks. As we have uncovered the beauty of the Merrimack River, we will soon unveil another jewel in our city, the Concord River Greenway, with the help of a $1.3 million grant, should be complete in October for people to see. We will schedule another Parks Subcommittee meeting in September to get a more recent update on the progress. That's the report of progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Council Mercia. Discussion? Motion to accept the report of progress by Council Samaras, second by Council Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next item under 8.2 is a wire inspector, Greater Lowell Engineering Association for Enterprise Bank, requests underground electric conduit at 18 and 19 Palmer Street. Motion to accept and adopt the recommendation of the wire inspector by Councilor Belanger, second by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. That motion carries. Next item under petitions, there are 4 claims for property damage. Motion to refer to the Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, City Council motions. First motion of the evening by Councilor Kennedy. Request City Manager provide City Council with a report outlining the process for developing RFPs in the water and wastewater departments, with a focus on who authors the RFP and who provides input. Second by Council Belanger. Council Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, I filed this motion. I mean, I think that in recent weeks, and probably even in recent months, the situation that's existed up at the water department has caused you and many members of the city council to take a closer look at every aspect of that operation up there. And so I think one of the things that I would like for you to take a look at is the RFP process. It's very important, I think, that and the intent of this motion is really to look forward to make sure that there's no problems going forward, rather than to look at what's happened in the past. But I do think that we want to make sure that anybody that's hired for the water department or the wastewater department as a consultant and that provides technical expertise is not involved either directly or indirectly in the writing of any RFP. And I understand that sometimes the RFPs might be very technical, and I also understand that that over a period of time it might become more expedient to have someone with the knowledge just write the RFP up. But I do think that it's in the city's best interest to make sure that there's an arm's length relationship between those people that respond to the RFP, to make sure that anybody that responds to the RFP is not involved in the writing of that RFP directly or indirectly. And that's really the crux of the motion. And that's, so I'd like to know exactly what steps we can take to make sure that doesn't happen. And I think that the consultants for the water department and for the wastewater department, there's a lot of money that's spent on those consultants, or maybe one particular consultant. So this motion is just to make sure that that everything stays appropriate in that department. And I think from time to time, particularly with the water department, that there have been things that have gone on that have been inappropriate, and we don't want to have more trouble. I think we want to try to rectify the situation, and so that's the intent of the motion.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Second motion of the evening by Counselor Kennedy, request city manager provide an update regarding construction project of the former Butler School site on Gorham Street. Seconded by Counselor Milonazo. Counselor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you again to the city manager. Mr. Manager, what we're really looking for is just an update here on that project. I've driven by there several times. There doesn't seem to be any activity there. I think there's been no activity for some time. I know that the developer ran into some difficulties, I think, last year. You know, that is a project that land was purchased from the city. And so that's a project that we want to see go forward. And if it isn't going to go forward, then maybe we should just take another look at what can we do about it. But it seems to me that there's, for several months now, nothing's gone on up at that site.
Thank you, Counselor. For discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries as well. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Milonazo, request city manager report on what proper notices are given to abutters by National Grid when opening up streets and sidewalks. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. I'm sure all of my colleagues had received calls regarding some work that National Grid has been doing really throughout the city. My understanding, they're actually putting in pressurized gas lines and then venting those gas lines in some places, as I understand it, very close to the property line. And it was my understanding, talking to some of the people that did call, indicated that they had no notice at all. They did make it clear, though, that Lisa DeMayo has been very helpful when they call the city engineer's office to get an update. But the National Grid trucks just showed up one day and started digging up in front of their house. So actually some graduation parties were actually interrupted because they had no idea their driveway was to be closed and so forth. So again, I bring it forward just to find out what the protocol is. And I just again want to emphasize that the city engineer's office has been very helpful to people that call that were calling my house. But again, at the end of the day, if you look at what's going on, and I know two of our colleagues actually live on Clark Road, but what's going on Clark Road, I guess, has been very disruptive to the residents, but in other places throughout the city as well. So whatever you can provide the council would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Mercia, excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know firsthand about that because Burnham Road is a street that is being reconfigured with gas pressure increases, and how they notified me and my neighbors, they put one of those door knocker things on my doorknob, and I looked at it and I didn't realize before they ever came on the street, I had noticed that they had come on my property and put these like flags, these yellow flags. So I thought that being as naive as I am, I thought that they were just telling me that the door knocker was telling me that they had already come on my property and they were notifying me of that, but they weren't. They were telling me that I had to call to make an appointment so that they could come on my property, and they're taking the gas meters from inside your house and they're putting them outside, and that's what they're doing. Every time they notified me through a door knocker on my door handle with the phone number to call so that we could set up an appointment, and that's how they were working it. They were very courteous. They were unbelievably polite. They never parked to block a driveway, and there was always a police officer on detail that got you through that. It's very disruptive, but if you want the service, you have to put up with a little bit of that. I'm sorry that people are graduating, but that does happen. They made an appointment with me on a particular Monday to take my gas meter from inside outside, but they had done another neighbor, and it was so lengthy that instead of taking another day off, they made it so they came on a Saturday when I was home. So they did everything possible to help out. I'm sorry that people didn't get properly notified, but that's how they're notifying people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Mercia. Request city manager find ways and means to repair the sidewalk in front of the LeBlanc School on Birch Street side. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The motion more or less speaks for itself in that the sidewalk is very deplorable to the point where in the past few months, 2 people fell, not together at the same time, but one neighbor fell on it and another neighbor fell a few weeks later. There's no claim against the city, thank the dear Lord, but it is an alternative school as well. We don't want any children to get hurt. And I don't know how we can make it happen, but they had already called time and time again to have that sidewalk repaired. It's beyond repair. It needs to be reconfigured. It's just in front of the LeBlanc School on the Birch Street side. So if we could look into that and see what we could do, they'd be grateful, because they have tried and called for quite a long, long time. I'll say over 18 months now. So I don't like people to wait that long, and I know money is of the essence, but I don't want this person upset anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As long as we're on the subject of sidewalks, this came up, this was brought to my attention over the weekend, but rather than put it as a motion, maybe we could just sort of jump on Councilor Mercia's motion. And there's the sidewalk on Market Street, just beyond the parking garage on Market Street, I guess has been, it's in need of repair. And I think there's been a lot of handicapped people and senior citizens who've had trouble negotiating that particular segment of the sidewalk. So this would be just beyond where the parking garage is and going up to where the LTC is, that building.
Thank you, Councilor Kennedy. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Rourke. Request city manager provide all audit reports from the city auditor and any independent audit reports from the past 5 years regarding the water department. Seconded by Councilor Samaras. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, what I'm looking for here, obviously, is any audit that has been done through the city or through the independent auditor. I wanted to see what went wrong and how it can be prevented in the future so it doesn't happen again. Also, if you could, in the report, what constitutes our city auditor to go to a department to do an investigation and so forth? Are there triggers? Are they done randomly? What does the administration see that would say, go check out that department? So, again, it's Councilor Kennedy had said earlier, it's about moving forward, but hopefully by doing a little digging, looking back, we can figure it out and move along. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Rourke. Request city manager report on the percentage of estimated water readings in the city. Second by Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Once again, Mr. Manager, along with that report, looking for maybe the future of how we're going to go about doing water readings, how often, when they're done. So I think the pilot report would be great.
Mr. Manager?
You should be getting a report probably late tomorrow or early Thursday relative to the investigation into the water department and how we're following up to rectify the issue that occurred there.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. All those in favor, Councilor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a good motion. We all know what's been going on there with these high water bills. We all been getting several messages, emails. Mr. Manager, to you, what do these people have for recourse now? The water department did not do their due diligence by getting in that property. In some cases, the door may have been locked. They may not have been responses. But from what I gather, most of these people, no one's contacted them. When we don't do our due diligence and try to get into the property and then estimate it, and so they're thinking they're doing nothing wrong. In a sense, they are. So they're going along like, thinking all is well, and all of a sudden, okay, we do a crackdown to get in there, and people are hit with homeowners 2, 3, 11,000. I've seen 17,000. How is that right? I know this is the past, but what do these people have for recourse, Mr. Manager? Do they have any kind of argument here?
The report will contain, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. The report will contain a recommendation as to a ordinance change to give further rights to those people to appeal the water bills and get some type of relief.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Kennedy?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager. There's one water bill that I submitted to your office last week, or maybe I just talked about it. I'm not sure that I actually submitted it, but I'd be happy to do that. But anyways, it has several quarters, and in each and every quarter, the amount owed is about $300. But in the second quarter of 2013, that jumped to $1,200. So you got 300, 300, 300, roughly say. Then it jumps to 1,200. Then it goes back to 300. Now, apparently, there was some sort of appeal process where you could go out to the water facility and take an appeal out there with some board. This person did that. They were turned down. But the notice that they got did not describe why, the reason that they were turned down. It simply said that their appeal was denied, and that was it. I have a copy of that letter, but it seems to me that if somebody's going to be denied on that basis, you got to at least explain to them. You can't, if someone takes the time to go up and appeal and goes for the hearing and so forth and so on and pleads their case, they deserve more than just appeal denied, and that's the end of it. You know what I mean?
Mr. Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you, and I'll look into why there should be some explanation for the rationale. But the report will show you why there were these low readings and all of a sudden a high reading. It'll explain it fully.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Rourke. Request City Manager and Executive Director of UTEC come before the City Council to discuss the partnership with the Lowell Police Department and other public safety agencies. Seconded by Councilor Mercier. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, if you could also ask the police chief, I know you have other reasons he'll be here as well on that day, but I've talked to both Mr. Croto and Superintendent Taylor about UTEC and the police department going forward. And the goal with this is, with the police department giving them almost $1.5 million over the past 4 years, we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. And I think that, through this motion, them coming here, telling the city and the council what their objectives are, what their mission is, working together going forward, I think it would be a real benefit. So if that could be done for the 24th, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Leahy and Councilor Rourke. Request City Manager report on noise levels at Holy Ghost Park and develop a plan to control the noise levels during the summer months. Motion not needing a second. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Motion basically speaks for itself. If, with the summer months and all the events going out and happening at Holy Ghost Park, if we could come up with a solution with them to kind of control the noise and time limits and things like that. So, thank you.
Councilor Rourke.
Yeah, much like what Councilor Leahy said, we have got a couple complaints from residents in the area, extremely loud noise, so just look into that, see what can be done. That'd be great. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Leahy, could you take the podium?
10.9, next motion by Mayor Elliott. Request city manager report on costs and process for selecting outside counsel on various city matters. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I filed this motion after reading the article in the newspaper, and I was disturbed to read the recent expose in the newspaper regarding the amount of taxpayer money spent on legal fees in the cases of the library aid, and to find out that, we're over $200,000 we were billed for these cases. It's astounding. I was even more surprised and troubled when I found out we are being charged $425 an hour for a private attorney for these cases, and that's a reduced fee. That's just not right. Also troubling is the fact that these costs have piled up over the years, and not one phone call has been made to try to settle these matters. All the while, taxpayers continue to foot the bill with these legal fees. Mr. Manager, I applaud you for wanting to settle these matters, but it's an effort that should have been made long before the taxpayers are put on the hook for $200,000. In my opinion, this is reckless use of taxpayers' money. And furthermore, we look at other legal cases. It's a troubling pattern with spending for professional fees in the law department. The Alvarez case, the city council was not kept abreast of those fees, and in my opinion, it was hidden from us, and it ended up costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars as bills piled up over the years. Keeley case is another example of this troubling history of letting awards and fees pile up. As I told the newspaper, my confidence is decreasing rapidly. This issue in that department is ripe for review, especially when it comes to use of taxpayer funds for professional services, as well as my next motion, spending money on surveillance fund. To me, this free spending of money on professional services needs to cease immediately, Mr. Manager. It's just not a good practice. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So in this motion, I'm asking, what I'm asking for is a report, and this is what I'd like to see, Mr. Manager. I'd like to see what the policy is when a private attorney is hired, and what is the basis for making that decision, and who makes that decision. I'd like a report on the cost of the attorneys for the last 5 years. I'd like to know the rate of pay, and I'd like to know how that rate is determined when we go out for a contract for professional services. And I'd also like a list of payments for the library cases and what they were paid for. And lastly, I'd like to make sure no more expenditures are being made for legal costs on prior employee cases. My next motion is on surveillance, and I'll talk about that, but there's someone leaked, but that's the intent of my motion, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Councilor Kennedy?
Yeah, I just like to say this. I do think that, I think it's a matter of policy. In other words, I don't know that I would blame the law department at all. I would blame the prior administration and the policy that they had. I'm not sure that the law department moves forward on any of these cases without the consent of the city manager. And so maybe what we need is a review of the entire policy. I think, for instance, a case like the library case, it could be a situation where at the outset, it looked like, well, you have to try go forward with this because maybe it has no merit. And so if it has no merit, I mean, you have to take a stand. I think that years later, if it doesn't work out, you can look back and say, well, geez, maybe we shouldn't have spent as much money as we did. But I can recall that there have been times over the past couple of years when we have met in executive session to look at all of these cases, and that there was some discussion about what they were costing and so forth and so on. And so, while I'll admit that this is totally out of control, it shouldn't be so much of a surprise to anybody that it's gotten to the point that it has. But just once again, I think that if we're going to point any blame, I think that should be, the blame should go towards the policy of the prior administration rather than to the law department.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Well, can I just respond? I mean, we learn of these costs after the fact. I mean, yes, we do go into executive session, but we're at over $200,000, and this council wasn't aware of it. Same thing with the Alvarez case. Had no idea what the status of that was. And then lo and behold, there's a transfer that comes in. So whatever the policy is, I agree, we need a review of the policy. But there's also an increase in the budget this year for professional services, and before we proceed, I would like to know what the policy is, and who does make that decision. I mean, if it's a joint decision, or if it's the law department, or if it's the manager, this council should be kept abreast, and I think that is the crux of the issue, that we don't know till after the fact that $425 an hour is outrageous when we're looking at so many other issues in the city that we need to address for a case that, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Councilor Kennedy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that the motion's a good motion, and I think it's good that the mayor is bringing it up, and it's certainly something that should be addressed. My only problem is that I do think that if we're going to point fingers, the finger should be pointed at the prior administration, not at the law department. And it's as simple as that. I mean, we have met in executive session. We do consider the budget every year, and we'll be doing it this year, and so there's money in the budget for such things. I would agree that it's gotten out of control, and I think the Alvarez case is even more, is a worse example than the library case. And maybe there were reasons for that. And so let me just leave it at that. I just think that that's where, if you're going to point fingers, that's where you should be pointing your fingers, not at the law department.
Thank you. Mayor Elliott, did you want a response before we vote on the budget for this motion? You referenced the budget.
No, that's fine. I think I outlined the various points, the
Okay.
intent of the motion. Thank you.
Okay. So all those in favor of the motion, say aye. All those opposed, passes. 10.10, next and final motion of the night by Mayor Elliott. Request city manager report on the cost, process in implementing surveillance measures regarding city business. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you. Similar to the prior motion, Mr. Manager, this is another example where the council is not kept up to date on expenditures and how much money is being spent. And again, the council should know how much is being spent and why it's being spent and what's the reasoning behind it. So I guess the policy, it would be good to know what the policy is when it comes to using these funds. And I have no idea how much we're being spent or even when it's being spent, quite frankly. Every department is responsible for justifying our budgeted money, and this should be no exception. So again, taxpayer funds, in my opinion, should not be spent without oversight. And I understand this line item does come in through professional services, but there's been no report on what has been spent. And I'd like to see what has been spent over the last 5 years and what the purpose is for. And, funds should not be spent without oversight, without any oversight, and on witch hunts, in my opinion. So it's time for accountability of these dollars, and this is the purpose of the motion. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a good motion as well. I can remember when I came onto the council a couple of years ago, became pretty clear to me that the former city manager was less than transparent regarding the expenditures on surveillance. And so it's been there's been somewhat of a cloak of secrecy about how much money we spend and when we do spend it. And so it would probably be good to review that as a policy and determine when we are going to do that and just how far along we're gonna go with that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Just a point of clarification, are we talking just surveillance out of the law department, or I know the police department, use these tools as well? I just want to be clear on what we're looking. I think it's a good motion, but I just want to be clear on what we're actually looking for.
I should have been more clear. Just professional services, that's where this money is being spent from, not the police department, Councilor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. No more business tonight. Entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Thank you.